We're gonna start a fight, guys. That's exactly what we're doing, because this is a fight with words. When it comes to the Detroit Red Wings, we already made a video a few days ago talking about one of the biggest problems with the team. And, you know, you're taking a look at the thumbnail of that video. Obviously, we were talking last time about defenseman Jeff Petry. Because yesterday, the Detroit Red Wings played off against the Carolina Hurricanes, and, you know, we said it, this was going to be a really difficult stretch of games. If the Wings were going to keep their playoff hopes alive, even if it leads to an eventual elimination. In games against the Carolina Hurricanes, the Panthers, the New York Rangers, the Lightning, even if they lose, if they want to go out there and give themselves a fighting chance, hey, sugar, they got to go down swinging. And they ended up not doing that. They played the Hurricanes yesterday. They lost 4-0. And look, I get it. 4-0 means not only did the Red Wings let in 4 goals, but they also didn't score any themselves. You could say, oh, it's Patrick Kane, it's Austin Czarnik, no Kane equals no goals, whatever. But hey, they still had Larkin. And Larkin has been a pretty big driving force to the motor that is the Wings. And even in a game like this, playoff lives are at stake. You just lost to the Capitals. You need to regain some ground. They ended up with a 0 bomb. Okay, 4 goals against, 0 goals for. Not the best, right? But when it comes to the response to this game, dude, look, I'm going to just go out there and look at ice time. Let's say this right here. So, time on ice for forwards. Dylan Larkin had the most time on ice, which is understandable. He had 20 minutes and 4 seconds, followed up by JT Compher, Michael Rasmussen, Perron, DeBrincat, and Raymond. Okay, great. Who had the most time on ice for the defenders? Okay, in 4th place, you've got Simon Edvinsson, who had 18:09. Nice to see him getting production out there because he kind of deserves it. Ben Sherratt had 18:13. Moritz Seider had 18:15. So all 3 of these guys pretty much within the same 6-second span of each other. And Jeff Petry had 18:42. He had a -3. You could debate that should have been a -4 because the goal in which Petry was not on the ice for was a power play goal wherein Petry himself was in the box. Petry was on the ice for all the even strength goals against, and during the power play goal against, he was the guy who took the penalty. So, is it not easy to see where the Wings fan base would go in their response to this game? That's not excusing the 0 goals. 0 goals is 0 goals. You can't win any hockey games if you don't score any goals. Okay, great. But at the same time, part of hockey is playing defense, and sometimes your defense just does not play defense. Here is the Red Wings subreddit. This is a post made by Lenny Sundal that just lays it out there on the line. How has Jeff Petry effed us? Let me count the ways. And I saw this post pop, I was like, oh boy, that's a can of worms. I mean, it's the most appropriate thing to talk about right now for the Wings fan base because, you know, you gotta have a whipping boy. The team is going through this slump. Everybody's performing poorly. Who's been performing the most poorly? Well, happens to be Jeff Petry. Looking simply at goal differential and his plus-minus, here are the numbers for Jeff Petry. October 12th, 2023 versus New Jersey. Petry was a -1. Devils win 4-3. November 16th, 2023 against the Ottawa Senators. Petry was a -3. Senators win 5-4 in OT. December 18th, 2023 against Anaheim. Petry was a -3. The Ducks win 4-3. December 31st against Boston, Petry was a -2, the Bruins win 5-3. On January 11th versus Edmonton, Petry a -1, Oilers win 3-2 in overtime. On January 23rd versus Dallas, Petry a -2, the Stars win 5-4. On March 12th against Buffalo, Petry was a -4, and the Sabres won 7-3, and March 23rd against Nashville, Petry -1, Predators win 1-0. Petry was -3, but they lost 4-0, so I'm not counting it here. That being said, by this metric and logic, Jeff Petry has cost the Wings 10 points over the course of the season. Oh my god, what in the world? How do you even, this makes sense. The logic here makes sense. Take the Petry -3 game against Anaheim, for example. Oh, the Ducks won 4-3, and Petry was a -3. If Petry was just better, if maybe he or the pairing that he was on was able to not be a -3, then maybe the Ducks don't score 3 goals and maybe the Wings win 3-1. For example, instead of losing 4-3, I get it, that's a really, simplistic way to view hockey. It's difficult to just equivocally say, oh, a guy was a -3 in a game where he lost by 1, therefore that guy cost the team the game. But the thing is, with Jeff Petry repeatedly exhibiting these kinds of results, 10 points. That's 10 freaking points over here that this user is pretty much evaluating that Jeff Petry cost the Wings. I'd say the most egregious example here was probably the most recent one listed on the list here, the Nashville Predators game, the 1-0 game where Jeff Petry pretty much was the reason why the goal went in because he didn't swat the puck away in front of the goal. That was a tight game, super engaging, super close. The Wings were trying to battle for their playoff lives. We say that phrase over and over again, but that was still in the midst of this entire hunt for that final wildcard spot. That was 5 days ago. And the Predators were on that up and up, This was a big test. If the Wings could match Nashville, a team who has been so good and so hungry the past few weeks, then they'd be golden. And they did match Nashville until Jeff Petry didn't swat the puck away, and Philip Forsberg scored, and then they lost 1-0. Again, another shutout. Let's go out there and read the comments on Lenny Sundal's post on how Jeff Petry has screwed it. You can still count the game here because Petry was only off the ice because he was in the penalty box, so that goal was still his fault. The guy either makes baffling decisions or is nowhere to be found on every goal against him. Teams never need puck luck if they're facing Petry on the ice. He's literally a turnstile. Watching him and Sherratt generate wind together is hilarious. What's crazy is that we dressed 7 defensemen tonight. Boner could have easily benched him and played Hall more, but I guess he's got no balls. Another reply says this: I'm not defending him because I think he absolutely blows, but it's not just these awful numbers, it's the amount of ice time he gets. It makes no sense how a player this unreflective can get as much ice as he does. And similarly, Petry has been bad, but you can cherry-pick numbers for nearly any player on just about any team and exclaim they're horrible. Of course, with Petry, though, there's an abundance of cherries. Essentially saying here that, yeah, every player has their bad moments, but for Petry, he has a lot of them. And even if you go to the Red Wings sub and look at the post-game thread after their loss to the Carolina Hurricanes, top comment says this: the period in which Carolina put up 4 goals, Petry had more ice time than Seider, and Petry was on the ice for 3 goals. Thank you for your service, Lalonde. Have fun in Tampa next year as an assistant coach in some way. The commentary gets even more rampant. Petry with almost 19 minutes of time on ice tonight, second on the team behind Larkin. This is an absolutely insane statistic. What kind of blackmail does Petry have on Lalonde is the real question here. So at the end of the day, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about how the Wings have been playing as of late, how they played against the Carolina Hurricanes last night, and what are your opinions on Jeff freaking Petry? I've been saying this throughout the past few years, but I've always liked his game. I'll not refrain from saying that. You can go back to the 2021 Canadiens streams when they went to the finals and everything. I was always a big fan of Petry. 40-point guy in 50 games played with the Canadiens a few years ago. That was great. This year, he's on pace for about 23 points, which in itself is okay. A 20-point defenseman is fine, especially at a cap hit of $2-something million a year. But $2-something million a year for a 20-point defenseman is fine only if that defenseman actually plays defense. Safe to say, but Jeff Petry is not the guy he once was. He is now 36 years old. Hate to break it to you, Lego, but when Petry was playing with the Montreal Canadiens, he was in his early 30s. When they went to the finals, he didn't even produce that many points, but he was still pretty good. And he was 33 back then. 33 is not the same as 36. A lot can go wrong when a player is 35, 36 years old. And I guess we're starting to see that now. I don't know, I feel good. There's a good human element to me that looks at the Jeff Petry situation and says, yeah, that's a great story. He's there in Detroit. His father was with the Lions and now he's with his family. This is a good, heartwarming story, but he doesn't do any good things for the team. He costs the team points at this point. How crazy is that, where you could find 10 individual examples where it's yeah, Petry was a -X, and the opposing team won by 1 goal and scored these amount of goals with Petry on the ice. He is, in a way, responsible. But is that irresponsible to say? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Jeff Petry and whether or not this is a conversation worth having. But I hope you enjoyed this video. And Bye.